One, and we're live for this new concept that we started. It's called CEO Wisdom Roundtable. I invite a bunch of cool CEOs and founders to this podcast to talk about challenges that we face, talk about AI debates and everything in between. And today we have Alireza Bolurchi with us today. We have Ahikam and Philip, all from different companies. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves first, and then we're gonna just start chit-chatting about AI stuff. So, Alireza, if you can start introducing yourself.
Hey everyone, this is Alireza Bolurchi. I'm the CEO founder at Catch Up AI. I'm also a CS computer science adjunct professor at Oklahoma State University.
Ahikam from SafeBooks, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Ahikam Kaufman. I'm CEO of SafeBooks AI. We basically automate data-driven actions in the office of the CFO. I started my career as a CFO in the Bay Area, and then became an entrepreneur about 15 years ago. Thank you for having me.
Phil?
Hi, I'm Philip, the CEO of TechJays. At TechJays, we help the world build AI. I used to build AI inside of Google, now building it out for the world. We're based in Menlo Park. Thank you so very much for having me, and excited for this roundtable.
So let's start with the first one, the burning one. Is AI gonna be a net positive for the world? Do you think AI is gonna just slash out a bunch of jobs more than it will create new jobs? Alireza, what do you think about that?
I don't think so. I'm very positive on it. I'm seeing new jobs coming to the market. An example, just a friend of mine dropped on me, which is nice, is that in a couple of years, we will see jobs that are posting for somebody who drive the spaceship to Mars. Like that can be something that is coming up. So like new jobs will be coming. They're just different, and we are going to see them hopefully soon.
Ahikam?
I'd like to think, I can only learn from history. I'd like to think if I'll revert back like 50, 60 years ago, people would think that computer will take over all human tasks, right? And probably just help us develop the economy. So I'd like to think AI, eventually people would have to change, but AI will create more jobs and help expand the economy around the world.
Bill?
Yeah, I would agree with both Alireza and Ahikam. And a lot of times when a new technology comes in, people underestimate the ingenuity of the human spirit. We are really good at finding new things to do. Our needs and wants expand. We, to move on to bigger and better problems. And every time there is a goalpost of success, we are very good at moving it. So and it's the same, Alireza, my dad used to work in a bank in India, a nationalized bank, for about more than 30 years. And when computers were coming, the unions were all protesting, saying that it's going to be the reduction of jobs. And so they should not be. And then now you find actually the bank has more employees than it had back then, has more business than back then. And as we all know, that was a fallacy. So I do believe that it is going to be a net positive. And while there are some cautions that we need, precautions that we take, I look at saying like, hey, how does it impact society? I do believe it's going to be a great net positive. I'm a firm believer.
And don't we think that it will be beneficial for us CEOs, and that's our main bias or main priority is just being like, hey, everything's going to be okay? Because I think that AI itself is a human replacer. That's what it is. It's not another technology. It's another human brain. And if you think of a job opening that you would have in your company, you would just outsource it to an AI agent and not a human, because the AI agent is instantly connected to your company data. It learns faster. It moves faster. Obviously, there's some piece that it doesn't have, like emotional intelligence and humanity, right? But don't you think that AI is just not another invention, and it's literally a job replacer, rendering other humans that are trying to compete obsolete? What do you think, Alireza?
It's very complex. It's just moving so fast. Each time there is a new technology coming, things are going much faster. So it makes it very harder to predict what's going to happen. But for now, at least with the agents and agentic systems, it's still somebody needs to give them the job. So somebody needs to define it, and that job is based on our capacity right now, how we can handle like creating and how we can imagine those jobs. But as AI gets better and better and they can do more complex tasks, and probably they can now create those works, those tasks for us that we can imagine right now, then we can go to the next level and define more complex tasks that can do better needs that we don't know. Like some of the needs that right now we are aware of, they are probably getting resolved by AI. But then there will be new needs that are coming, which we are not aware of them. And as soon as AI takes over some of the things that are like stopping us from moving further right now, then we would be able to imagine better and try new things. They like try MVPs. I try MVPs with everything, not just like building an MVP. Like during the life, like you want to try things and see how it goes, and now you can try much more complex things in a short period of time. So I'm seeing new needs coming that we are not aware of. And I use just one example. Before smartphones, nobody thought they need a smartphone. But then once they came in, everyone was looking for a new app. So,
Ahikam, still, what's your opinion on that one?
My opinion, I'll start with what I view as a funny story. Meta is looking to expand their AI capabilities in a significant manner. And what do? Do they hire AI agents? No, they're looking for people from scale and other, right? I'd like to think that, when blockchain came out, emerged, people thought that all of our data is going to move to blockchain, right? And it cooled down. I'd like to think that outside of the initial capabilities we're seeing right now, it will take more time to get to a point where you can have a bunch of agents developing an enterprise platform. I think the view on AI today, to some extent, think about it the way I think about it. It's like a junior employee, junior staff member. It can do certain tasks, right? For someone who equivalent for someone who has maybe 2-3 years of experience, but not someone who's like a leader or 20 years of experience. So can AI pre-populate a form for you in the bank or an application? Yes, totally. Uh, can he run a bank? Probably not. So again, I'd like to think that human qualities will still be required, but AI can definitely make our life better in many, many ways. But human intervention would always be necessary in all fronts for years to come. So personally, to me, autonomous driving would be something that probably AI can totally do in 5 years, although it's doing it very well now. But this is like a very data-driven process that basically you can train a machine on. And when you take the emotions out and you take the human factor out, like you can never get drunk, you can never, the machine doesn't get drunk, the machine doesn't drive under the influence, things like that. So it will drive better. But, in terms of like being able to run architecture and processes, things like that, I doubt it for now.
Philip?
Yeah, and it is one of the things is we used as a past as the predictor of the future, because that's all that we know. And as Ali Reza mentioned, it is really hard to see what, say, 2030 would look like or what 2035 would look like. We couldn't have imagined even just the post-smartphone world. So as a positive, what this is, again, even delving into the past, like every technology wave that we've had, all the way from the Industrial Revolution, has led to positive impact on humanity. So, and that is one of the reasons why I said, like, hey, and I think Barack Obama once said, like, if there is any time in history, being an ardent student of history, if he chose a time to be born, it would be now. so you look at it that way, and that's the belief that, hey, AI would be positive. And Charles, you mentioned something about, hey, because we might have biases as CEOs, it's going to make our job easier, maybe cut costs or some things like that. I would look at it like maybe there are certain aspects of our jobs that are like, but there is an AI leadership OS. All of our meetings are recorded, and then decisions. AI is much better at reading people, ranking things, performance, and so on. And some aspect of our jobs are like maybe done by AI in the future,
Oh yeah.
and that's totally fine as long as that leads to better outcomes and makes the world better. So it is very
Do you
interesting.
guys trust OpenAI with your data? Anyone can go, by the way. No need to do the circle thing. Anyone can
So I
voice
can
their
tell
opinion
you,
on that.
because we sell to enterprises, then their use of AI when it comes to sensitive data, like in the office of the CFO, which means like your CRM data, your ERP data, your billing data, is super, super sensitive. Some of them actually say right now we're not willing to use pure sheer AI capabilities in a process where we don't control the outcome, as opposed to like a more controlled environment. So I'd like to think that yes, the enterprise does have an issue with being able to share data with platforms like OpenAI to analyze whatever. So you need like more tools who can borrow capabilities from AI, but do it in a more restrictive environment. So yeah, enterprise can feel more safe. That's like for right now.
I can go next. I agree with Ahi, and I just want to add something to just what Philippe said about the performance and leadership. You actually described what Catch Up AI is doing. I love to chat about it later. But about OpenAI, my experience, I did my PhD thesis around security. So one thing that is very important is just do the right amount of security that you need. More than that is going to be maybe be a little bit safer, but more than that can become waste of time, money, financial, and all that. So you want to find out how much secure you want to be. Like there are still fabs for semiconductor that don't let you have internet on the field. You cannot bring your phone there. You cannot connect to internet. I remember the time like first when Dropbox and cloud was coming, a lot of people were suspecting, is my data safe there? So now everyone is using them. And so it depends. So I won't be too worried about it until there is a risk like financial stuff, sensitive stuff. But if you are handling something that is not super sensitive and the data is already getting obscure and like gets in and you don't have to the actual data is not there directly connected to individuals and your firm, I should be fine. But again, you should be careful and be extra conservative, but don't go all the way in because that would stop you from moving forward.
Yeah. So I used to work in the smart home industry, right, pre-pandemic, and this is a question people would always ask: is like how private are my streams, right? I'm putting cameras around my home, cameras in my maybe living room, and so it is a really hard problem because, like, I knew in a company nobody was actively looking at, oh, we've got to go over and snoop on people's what they're doing. But at the same time, I was really like, yeah, put it on a doorbell. The world can see your door, already. Maybe put it on a living room. Would I put it on your bedroom? No. So I think what Ali Reza said was like, yeah, if it is financial data, so on, and it is sensitive, don't. But for that, I think I would be fine with using all of these models on my data.
Right. How are all of you using AI sales wise? I'm curious about like at the GTM side of things of your enterprises. I've been using it quite heavily for cold email. It's hyper personalized emails and it's yielded immensely for me. How are you using AI on the sales side of things?
I can go first. I'll tell you this. You can watch the SaaStr sessions about AI-powered emails. It doesn't work really well, and still it's not accurate, so it could be really embarrassing. So what I'd like to think is that we're using AI to automate targeting, the entire targeting process of individuals and how we can reach to them and all of that. We're using AI in helping us to generate content which is relevant, which of course then we edit. So again, almost think about it as like a junior employee that can help, can serve you things which then you need to review or whatever, but you can't just fully rely on it to, especially meeting with prospects, meeting with customers. We're also obviously using AI to document our sales calls, to extract the minutes of each call, which is super convenient, and be able to run analysis on it. That's obviously working. So the all analytics side, where we use it and we can kind of vet the reliability of the data, that's easy. But being able to kind of give it like a free leash to run and talk to prospects or customers, I think it's a bit risky.
No, I agree with Ahi on the part that I still not trusting the part that personalized things, because that I've seen embarrassments there. And I was a VP before, and I was receiving something before AI, of course. But when it's not personalized wrong, like that doesn't look good. So, but how we use it to create more inbound part of it, or when we are building community. So a big part that we are using for GTM is building a community, building partnership, and how to find them, how to analyze them, go and find out what people are saying about the tools they need, and on Reddit, on like LinkedIn, all those things, to find them and to analyze them. We use a lot of AI. During the communication, we use that a lot. But for cold calling, honestly, I personally decided not to go that way for cold calling. Just stop it for a while. It's not working very well. It's my opinion, at least.
Yeah. For us, from a go-to-market motion, we were not yet using AI, because for us, right, we're a consulting business, and ours is very high touch. With the way we show up, with the way we engage with our clients, and the way we close. Not yet, but I wouldn't count it out, because with the advancements in the models, I can see us maybe using it soon in the future. On the other hand, just like AliReza, we are using a lot of it for research. So everything from pre-call, during the call, to post-call, to how we do it. So their AI has added a ton of value with respect to research, understanding the people, the companies, problem statements. And so that is where we've seen the most use in the sales motion.
What about the product side? Have you guys been vibe coding as of late, using Cursor to advance product way quicker than before?
For us, in a very limited manner. We're working on an enterprise platform. All the code is very, very sensitive. I think the first use that come to mind, I'm not a technology guy, but it's mostly testing, right? So be able to post the code and check for vulnerabilities, whether it's security vulnerabilities through one of the security tools that we use or platforms, or whether it's like code quality. But beyond that, to just be able to unleash the code through vibe coding, I think it's a bit more complicated. What I'm being told is that when you have a structured environment, whether it's like full stack or backend, complex backend, you can't just it doesn't it doesn't have the capability to understand the whole picture, and you can do very focused tasks, again, like a junior developer.
I can go next. So we are using it very heavily. Like, we are at least like 70% more on the development side, faster each developer. And one of the things is that we started from the very beginning. And I agree with Ai. When you have a source code that is not written that way and it's huge and complex, then coming and modifying it, maintainability right now is not the easiest. But as you add new features, that I would just start with one of the vibe coding tools. I don't call it vibe coding tools. They're like Copilot. Copilot was there from the beginning, then Cursor and Windsurf. And we use it for product team. The product team is working with AI very heavily in like bouncing ideas, generating new things to build, and we can like in just 5-10 minutes you can create things that you want to just compare what UI UX you want to use, what features you want to use. You can bounce ideas about it. That's a huge part that I think gives us a lot of creativity. But then in the coding, as I mentioned, and then testing, AI tools that are out there, our area is we can test everything. When it comes to something that is related to enterprises, we are very like we go over several times, make sure nothing is missed. But the first round of coding, we use it a lot.
We are very, very heavily using AI across the software development lifecycle, not just coding, right? Across the software development lifecycle. For example, just starting off on the coding side with how our IDE, our AI powered IDE is Cursor. Then taking knowledge management, we use Cloud Projects and Notebook LM for knowledge management. For code review, we use Gemini Code Assist. And when it comes over to prototyping and then other tools, use Replit, Google Colab, and so on. And we have found that leveraging this, what we call our AI tool chain, and the golden rule for this is managing context across these different ones. And if we do that really well, and we have our playbook for that, we've been able to leverage phenomenal results, and we've been able to deliver amazing results for our clients.
Love that. Let's switch to more philosophical side of things, and more precisely AI ethics nowadays. Is AI at the right place right now? Is it biased? Is it reflecting truth, reality? And if not, how should we put it on a better track?
Yeah, I can go on this because we've been, when I was in Google working with the responsible AI team, which was very interesting and the first of its kind, when Google came and like, hey, we need to build responsible AI, is how do we eliminate bias? How do we make sure that AI is fair and the work that is coming is safe also? What I figured is that with all the model providers are trying their best to build fair, safe models. Because AI learns from real world data. Data is the lifeblood of AI. AI learns from real world data. There is inherent bias in real world data structures, the world that is, which ultimately seeps into AI as well. Well, teams are actively working on removing those. But I would look at it more from go to the use cases and see how you can actually solve for it. For example, hiring is one area where bias is rampant. That's how human beings are. We tend to make decisions based on what we like. We all have carry inherent biases. And so how do you make that objectively good? And what we've found is that AI has helped phenomenally well. Everything from, so we built our own AI tools because the ones that were not ready, and being Zooglers, we took Google structured interviewing, which is one of the most one of the best interview frameworks developed, Google structured interviewing process, and totally built that with AI, all the way from scanning resumes, setting up code tests if need be, or setting up, and then voice interview as well. Fully voice to voice based on voice to voice models, based with AI, and we found that this has completely flipped the recruiting game. It has made it much more fairer. It had made it much more easier taken the human bias out in so many rounds up front before they even get to talk to a human inside of TickJace. That way, I would say this is a phenomenal win when it comes over to actually resolving bias. So on the application side, there are huge wins when it comes over to, for AI to making it much more fairer playing field. On objectively as a whole, because you opened the topic with saying philosophically, not sure yet, right? So and what is fair? How do we define, what is the goalpost of how best it can be? All of these are really hard questions to answer.
I can take next. I agree with Philip that it should be very case by case situation. We are working with actually helping managers to do better management for employees, specifically in engineering team. And I trained over 200 managers over the years. One thing is that I can say human bias is much more than the AI. So and there are some people who can handle it really well and they have much less bias, but you can't help it. And there are people who have biases and you can control it. In the same company, one manager is doing perfectly, the other manager can't handle it, the other manager might have a lot of bias, and that hurts people. So if you can standardize it and make sure there is another AI, so if, for example, if we are using Llama 3, we use OpenAI, GPT or something, and then adding DeepSeek on top of it to look at its bias and help with it. And you can handle it much better. And there are much more things that people are doing in that regard. There are other parts that you want to make sure that, for example, we are looking at Slack channels, public Slack channels, and reading them. We want to make sure we don't go to privacy of people. But at the same time, if you make that more about, I want to read this and help you and make actions out of them, and people see those actions, so they see it as a growth opportunity rather than surveillance, now you fixed it. If you don't do it, you just look at it and use it for when you're handling a layoff decision, and you pull it off. That time, it's actually like removing the privacy from everywhere in your company. The trust is gone. Nobody will chat over Slack anymore, and then you have problems. So it depends on the situation. And again, it's the human being is deciding how to use it. I think the bias on the AI side can be handled, and at least even right now, in many cases, it might be much better than how human being is handling it.
To me, it's this was greatly covered by Philip and Alira, so I'm fine.
Got it. I'll go to the next one. What are your thoughts on Stargate $800 billion project? Obviously, behind the scene, I think it's a lower amount. I think it's like 19 billion so far, mostly by SoftBank and OpenAI. Do you feel that would give the US an advantage in this AI arm race?
Actually, I've been watching that recently, and the whole mini town they're building there in I forgot the name of the town in Texas. I think like anything else, resources are essential. So instead of like it's like now computer resources and probably energy resources as well. So you need both. In my humble opinion, it's the combination of energy, computer resources, and fast networks are essential to be able to do a lot of things. Right now it's to train models, but I'd like to think even then you run models. Maybe in 5 years, our mobile phones are different. They're all like super AI powered, and we have many connected devices, so you need more computer infrastructure. So I'd like to think that the cost of computer infrastructure is not cheap today. So obviously the ability to add more capacity is just like a natural progress. So that's how I view it.
So overall, from a technical stance, right? Chatting with friends in DeepMind, friends here in the Valley who are doing research in OpenAI and Anthropic and whatnot. What everybody believes is that even with respect to gains, with pre-training, post-training, reasoning models, whatever, from the research side of things, everybody believes that we're all constrained by compute, and that's the whole direction of going over to Stargate. With respect to how the project is going, what will happen, not sure. I don't have the answers. It's a question mark. But here's the hypothesis towards it, that more compute would mean more powerful models and as accelerate the path towards AGI.
Yeah, I just want to add to that is there has been always the race between the compute and infrastructure. Like at the time, I remember we had so many cores on our CPUs that people could not do parallel programming enough to make it parallel enough to use all of that. So it's going back and forth. But in my mind, what can stop, like what might stop the moving forward is going to be some of the, I would say, governments putting stops on just tightening it too much on the safety side and things that going above and beyond to make sure everything is safe and then not letting it move forward. And that can be the stopper, and that can be stopping one country against the other country or one continent against the other continent. Because I feel European Union, for example, stopped what happening in there. So it's much harder for an AI company, especially if it's in HR tech or something, going to Europe, going to Germany, indeed. So they prefer to go start with US, for example. So even from Europe, they might want to come here, and that would add to the value of to the progress of AI. So we don't want to stop there. Of course, there should be safety in mind, but I think that cannot be too much so that it stops it from moving forward. Again, that balance is the most important part, and we should find that thin line of when we are passing that balance.
And tariffs, are they a net positive for the AI scene in the US or net negative right now?
I'd like to think that, personally, I'm not an expert in that, totally not. I think for computers industry or, all the chip industry is based on Taiwan. The risk with Taiwan is even bigger than just the tariffs. There are other political risks to that. So being able to build capacity, manufacturing capacity in the country would be essential for even like a national security standpoint. So I'd like to think that the tariff could be a catalyst for that process to move inland, and I think that's essential.
Indeed, I'm not an expert as well. Just what I know is if it makes it so. Again, I'm always about trade-offs. So you stop it if it stops the companies that are trying to move forward from going forward. If it adds a lot of overhead to a company like OpenAI, to another company who's building models and moving them forward, then all of a sudden the other countries that have it without that tariff and they have more access to compute, they can go faster. So, but at the same time, what I said about bringing that infrastructure inside, so because at some point it becomes strategic, so you want to find out what's that balance, and that's really hard. So I hope the political and the governments are using experts' opinion in making that decision and making that trade-off. So
yeah, Charles, that is one aspect that I don't have any idea of, because and I don't really know what the impacts are. And as Ali Reza mentioned, sure, there are quite a number of trade-offs that need to be made, and there are people who are looking at trying to solve the problem, and it's just my hope that they make it the best for innovation to thrive on. And I would leave it at that.
I'll go political. I have an opinion on that. I think, the tariffs have been a disaster so far for me and a bunch of my clients. We've all been affected by that. So I'm going to cut clear on that and speak maybe in your voice if you don't want to. But I think also general cooperation and trade throughout the world is homeland security. It is the best way to secure ourselves. It's to trade money with one another, generally speaking, right? But I think it's a very cool idea to center all of that in the US as well, to be independent on that level as well. I think that was also needed, but maybe not that drastic and the confusing way it was done. Guys, thanks for showing up today, all three of you. Where can people find out more about you? Ali Reza, you can start, and then Ahi, and then Philip.
Of course, my LinkedIn is available, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. I love to connect with people about if they have any question, or I can learn from anyone who is interested to chat.
To me, LinkedIn is the best, both for direct messaging and overall interaction and content. So,
yes, same as well. Find me on LinkedIn. Follow us, our company TechG's on LinkedIn. I respond on direct messages to direct messages on LinkedIn. And if you have any question around how to build AI, what it takes to build AI, happy to have a chat.
All right. Well, thanks to you all. And thanks for the viewers for tuning in to